We are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PERUSTOPIA live show, where we will be talking about an amazing book today, and Reagan's going to introduce it and tell you guys all about it. This video is a spoiler for your review. No, it's spoilery. So if you don't
spoilers.
I know, it's the one that we do the actual spoilers in. Our other reviews that we have are spoiler-free, so if you have not read this book yet and don't want to be spoiled, you should leave this video and then come back later once you've read it. This is kindly sponsored by Simon Pulse, and we're so excited to be working with them on this book because it was so much fun. So Reagan, get on into it and tell them what this book was about.
So When Dimple Met Rishi is a YA contemporary story following our two main characters that recently just graduated high school. Dimple is just graduated, as I mentioned, and she just got into Stanford. She's super excited to pursue her dream of computer engineering design and like all sorts of technical things like that. However, she's also really excited to leave home and kind of start her own journey as an adult and pursuing her career and escape some of the pressures that she feels from her mother to find the ideal Indian husband. Whereas Rishi is really in love, or he just was raised within some of these cultural traditions and he finds a lot of comfort in them. He's also a hopeless romantic. So when his parents tell him that he can meet his potential wife at a coding summer camp in San Francisco, he's down to go. He's down to meet her and see if this particular match is something that he wants to pursue as he gets older. However, when he meets her, it's Dimple, and Dimple has literally no idea this was a thing, has no idea who he is, and proceeds to throw a coffee in his face. It's a love story that has a lot of wonderful cultural aspects woven into the narrative. It's absolutely adorable. It's really, really cool and technical because of the computer aspect of it, and it's just overall so freaking cute. I really, really loved it.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you on that. Like, it was such a amazing read because I have a lot of Indian friends who have been going through some of the stuff, some of them have not, but it's really interesting seeing it in the perspective of a young adult novel.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, so many people need this type of stuff out there. I mean, it's so important to have representation of all different cultures and races, everything. Representation is so vital and needed nowadays, and it has always been needed, but it's finally in the topic of discussion, and this one was so fun to read, and also it gave us a window into a world that you and I aren't, familiar with. And I think that is so, and I found it like such a great novel. It was so funny. It was very quick-witted, and there was a great pacing throughout the storyline, and I read it so fast, and I love the characters. It was just really an amazing book.
Yeah, no, I completely agree on that. Just the fact that this topic, or rather this novel, deals with the topic of arranged marriage, which for whatever reason has a lot of negative connotations within white Western culture, and obviously is very ingrained in Indian culture. And I feel like this book did a really great job being like, yo, this is what it is. This is just how it goes, and it's completely normal and it's completely fine, and it's not like people are forced to get married. It's more about like parents being like, hey, you guys might be a good match for each other. And it's like a huge part of Indian culture. I have a lot of friends, because I'm older now, and that's like starting to happen to them, and I've told them about this book and they're like, that sounds amazing and so funny and just like my life right now. So I think this book just did a fantastic job, not only creating an incredibly relatable story for all audience, especially for own voices audiences, but also just in general starts the conversation to normalize other areas of culture that are present in the United States that aren't talked about enough. Just to kind of bring things to the forefront that are totally fine and normal, but people don't talk about them. So people are like, what's that? But now, like, me and others are more aware that aren't necessarily in and embedded in that culture otherwise, which is another reason why I love this book personally. But aside from that, I thought this book was so funny. Dimple and Rishi were just hilarious, and I absolutely loved them as a duo.
Yeah, I agree with you so much on that because, like, especially with the humor, I think we've had like 2 humorous books in a row, which I am loving. Like, Trials of Paul with Dark Prophecy was also a very humorous book, and it has these quick-witted responses, just like When Dimple Met Rishi. And I really love that because I hate when I'm reading a book and there's lots of forced humor that actually I don't find that funny. Or if I find it funny, I maybe snicker, or my chest heaves a little bit because I'm like, oh, but I never laugh out loud that often when I read books. And it's just something that happens only very rarely. And when it does happen, I have to make such a big point about it, because that means like this was a dang good humorous book, but also had underlying meanings to it that, you know, were so important. And you really just like, it was just a great read all around. Like, I really enjoyed it. And I read the reviews on it, and a lot of people who are part of the Indian American culture, they relate to it so much. And I'm really happy to see that response as well, because I myself cannot relate to it, but it's good to see other people can. And it was just like so much fun. And the author, she's so sweet. And I am just so excited to see like what else she's going to write throughout, like, you know, her writing career.
I know. And it's good to see too that when Own Voices novels are put out there, I always try to look at Own Voices reviewers first, just to make sure like I'm not interpreting something wrong, or this like, is a misrepresentation of their culture, which I wasn't super worried about, because again, it's an Own Voices author, so she's just writing from her own personal experience. But like you mentioned, it's just so awesome. I also just loved reading other people's reviews of this to see how either people related from it, or learned something from it, or just overall enjoyed it. The reading experience for this book to me was just so enjoyable. But talking more about the characters, Dimple and Rishi, their dynamic was just so great. I loved Rishi to me, or rather Dimple to me, well, Rishi too, but I'm talking about Dimple right now. Dimple, what I thought was like so inspiring. As a woman, like conquering through STEM, and like she's so driven and so intelligent and so talented in such a technical field. And I also feel like even having representation of women in STEM, I so rarely see, and granted, I don't read a million contemporary books, but it was just so inspiring. Like if I was younger and I read this, I'd be like, yeah, go into STEM. Like, that's awesome.
Exactly. And, you know, something that I remember in high school, that I went to all-girls private school, so it was very small, and it was very, you know, out of the way and everything, but something that they really made sure was rooted deep within us is that the empowerment of women, and that we could do anything a man could do. And so one of the classes, we didn't take a class on it necessarily, but it was a day focused on coding, and we got to learn how to code, and we got to learn the very basics of it, but it was something that, you know, if you're interested in it, you kind of got a taste of what it's like, and then you could pursue it onward because they had classes you could take for that. And so like I find that like in this book, that's a representation that I love that they have in there, because you don't really get young adult books where the main character, she loves tech, like STEM, everything about that is so unique and so different in the best way possible. Because I feel like people think a lot of time representation goes beyond what we really think, like immediately what representation is, and it goes onward to like, you know, just the interests of characters that aren't always spoken about and should be. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that as well, because lots of people are techie out there. I'm not one of them, but I would like to be.
Well, I also just love Dimple too as a character, in the way that her desire to pursue a career and be really successful wasn't something that was negative. You know what I mean?
No.
Or put down by other people. It was something that was just like, this is what I really want to do. And, you know, I can have a relationship, I can do this, but at the end of the day, like, I'm really passionate about this, and I want to be at the top of my career, and I'm really driven to do this. And it was just really inspiring to see, again, like, we have a female teenage main character that I just felt like was super relatable and super smart. And she was obviously focused on, you know, boys and all those things. So that doesn't mean she can't also be focused on thinking about her own future. Because, hello, females, even young females, old females, they're like, you know, we have a spectrum of existence, and that means we're, you know, shockingly that we're able to consider both boys and a career or whatever you're passionate about without them clowning one another entirely. So it's just really cool to see her kind of come into herself in this story, and I just really, really loved it. And I also loved how she contrasted with Rishi a lot. I thought they were funny together.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in that sense, because like, you know, seeing how like passionate she was about her career, like a lot of people, like they see the way that, you know, at a young age, like I've always been very passionate about what my career, what I wanted to be, and like, you know, pursuing a job that I really love, and I was grateful that I got to get into it at such a young age. But, you know, a lot of time people would be like, but you're missing out about all your, like, you know, the high school years and then the college years, you're missing out on the parties and whatnot. And so like, you know, I always felt kind of like an outcast in that sense, that I was really like career driven. But seeing how like Dimple, she was very passionate about that, and she shows that there can be a balance between your lives. And yeah, you may prioritize, you know, wanting to go and pursue your career and like get that education and all that, but you still don't forget about the other like social aspects. Like I still thought about guys and everything when I was like pursuing, you know, being an author and like, you know, YouTube and school and everything. But like, you know, it doesn't have to be the main focal point of every conversation you have. It doesn't have to always be the main focus of everything. It just like, you know, everything has its own space in your life in different ways, and everybody's different. But like, you know, just seeing Dimple was really awesome because it made, if I read this book when I was like, you know, just out of high school or even like senior year in high school, I would have felt like so much better about everything. And I would have been like, hey, you know what, people who judge like me being so creative, and you know, they can suck it because, you know, other people are like this just as well. And that was just so cool. And yeah, like Rishi, like he was an amazing, amazing, fun character as well. Like they were very different, but they complemented each other.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So many quick remarks. Like I just really enjoyed their interactions between each other so much. That's what made me laugh most of the time because they were just so great bouncing off each other.
Right. No, I definitely thought they were a really great pair because I would say Dimple is like so driven and she will not let anything stand in her way to pursue her dreams. And because of that, she kind of rubbed off on Rishi to be like, why aren't you doing what you want to do? Like, why are you scared? You're young, just like go for it, pursue it. Like the only thing you'll always regret not trying. And in the same vein, Rishi is a little more like go with the flow in other ways. And he is less likely to get caught up in what other people are thinking. So he kind of brought Dimple to become more aware of the people around her and also about her family. Like Dimple helped lead Rishi to pursue and think about the career and the life he wants to have long term. And Rishi brought Dimple to realize that she can have all of the things she wants in her life career-wise, but she can also value and be a part of the family like she wants to too. It's not one or the other. And he kind of reintroduced her in some ways to her family and to be comfortable and also realize that her family was always there to support her. And it was just a misunderstanding and like miscommunication, which I also really liked. Like they both really helped each other and helped each other grow together and separately. And I just really, really enjoyed watching that.
No, I totally agree. And something that I really loved about just this whole entire novel was that I mentioned this in my review, but a lot of time in young adult fiction, I mean, there's families in the books, and of course, like, you know, they're not always a focal point, or, you know, they're just sometimes there, but not, or like, you know, they either kill all the parents or make it so like they're not in the way.
Right.
And, you know, I'm okay with that in some books, but in other books, like, I think that the family really should be there, and because it's like, if you want to make it realistic, you know, families, and for some people, are there for them. They're always going to be like around. They're thought about and whatnot. So really seeing this book and seeing how the familial aspect is really represented in a very big way was really refreshing, because yeah, even though like, you know, it showed realistic problems, and it showed and I think it helped with the character development on both parts of both the characters, especially Dimple, because, you know, it really, when we were introduced to her, I thought like, oh, she's a really strong character and whatnot. And like, I was really curious to see what kind of a character development she would then pursue throughout the novel. And I'm always surprised and pleasantly surprised when it's like, you know, you think the character, when you think they're like already grown enough, but then when they grow even more. And I think that way with her family really, really made her a very personal character in a sense, because when I first met her, I'm like, yeah, I really do like her. But once it started getting to the family aspect, I'm like, this is really cool and I really like it.
Yeah, for sure. And I also just kind of switched gears a little bit. Really appreciated how this book had other relationships. Obviously, this is a contemporary romance. Like, we're following Dimple and Rishi fall in love, even though it's like sudden love and it's young love, but they recognize that they're okay with that and they want to pursue it and they're allowed to be happy in that. There's other relationships. We saw Dimple form a really nice female friendship. And there was also a moment that I really liked in it. That was like, it was kind of near the beginning, and why is her name escaping her name? What was Dimple's roommate's name? Why can't I think of it?
Oh, like, gosh.
Celia or something like that?
This is the problem when we read books too fast, Reagan.
It's Celia. Okay.
I thought it started with an L for some reason. I don't know why.
So, well, there's an L in it. But anyway, so in a moment they were like, she was like, we can be friends together, but that doesn't mean we have to be friends with each other's friends. Like, we don't have to be 100% carbon copies of each other to respect and be friends with each other. And I was like, that is so healthy. And that's true. Like, you can be really good friends with someone, but but that doesn't mean they have to be you entirely. Like, you can have different interests than your friends, and even some different friends than your friends, and that's totally fine. And then obviously seeing their friendship grow as they became more to each other, and also seeing Celia kind of come back into herself, because she kind of lost herself a bit during this program. And it was nice to see that Dimple was always there for her, always offering her advice that she felt like she needed to hear, and wasn't like, well, she doesn't want to hear it anyway, like communication, blah, blah, blah. Like, they both fought for their friendship, which I appreciated. It wasn't just like, well, she's mean now, I don't want to talk to her. It was like, no, something's wrong. Like, I'm going to bring it up as best I can, which I like.
One thing that I really liked about this book, there was no like really petty or unnecessary drama in a sense. Like, it all had a reason. And just seeing like the friendship, for example, like, it's so true. You don't have to be carbon copy of your friend to be friends or anything. And like, I thought that was a really, I just love when there's a very solid friendship, or like a very realistic friendship in any novel, because I think it's something that like is really important, especially female friendships, because, you know, for a long time it was presented as, you know, almost catty in some books that I've read in the past when I was younger. And I really think it's so refreshing to see, like, you know, a relationship that's realistic, but also something you could relate to in real life. Like, I can relate to their friendship so much, and I really, really did love that aspect of this novel and the other relationships, and just the way the book really portrayed every person who was within it by name. Like, you know, everybody who had a name had like a reason to be there. And contemporaries, you know, Reagan and I, you can vouch for this, we don't normally read contemporaries, but like when I read contemporary and I really love it, it means that it's a really, like, it's really great for me to like know that I love that book, because doesn't mean I don't like all the other contemporaries I've read, but I'm very specific as to which contemporaries I read. So whenever I really enjoy one, I will recommend that book from like for years, because there's not many that I do read. And so I really will recommend this book to so many people, no matter who they are. I'm gonna be like, hey, like contemporary? Read this book.
Well, same, because it's like when I find a contemporary author I like and I really relate to their characters and their story, like, I just then read all of their books. Like, Jenny Han's another example of this. I've read every single Jenny Han book always on publication day for so long, for like 3 years now. And that's surprising to a lot of people, just because I generally don't read a lot of contemporary, but like you said, when I find a book in contemporary that I really like and really connect with, I just think the story is really interesting and the author did really interesting things, like, I stick with that author. And I'm really looking forward to see what this author puts out next in Menon, because
I'm so excited.
It's so good. I just really, really loved it. Oh, I want to say one more thing I really loved. I loved the setting. Like, I loved that they were at a summer camp for a coding competition.
Yes. You know, I totally agree with you on that one. It's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, I had friends in high school that totally did that. And it's so nice to see, like, something that's traditionally nerdy elevated to a sense of, like, no, this is really cool and really impressive. And look at these kids, like, changing or creating something so useful. And again, just kind of changing the conversation about what's a cool thing to be doing during the summer, what's not, what's worth your time, what's not. Because if you're passionate about something, you should go and pursue it. Be that tech, be that painting, be that whatever, be it whatever. But I just feel like I've never seen a tech setting like this in a contemporary book. And it was
seen a tech setting at all in a contemporary book. And like, also, okay, this is what I found very interesting, is like, they just graduated high school, and I think that's really interesting how they are going to summer camp, because usually when people graduate high school, not everybody, but a lot of people I know, they either go on a trip or they like just spend the summer with their family. They don't usually go to summer camp. Like, summer camp to me was what I did in middle school, and then like,
yeah, well, it was more like a 6-week competitive.
It was more like that, but I like really love that aspect of it, because it's like, people still do this, guys. They still do it.
I also think it's like flipping it the head on, like, because there's those, you know, band camp, like traditional, like, story settings, which are great and fine, but it's like, no, like, look, they're at a tech camp.
It's like it's a techie place.
And they're like cutthroat with each other, and it was so cool. And they still had like a talent show. And even though it was a tech setting, it still had all of the great tropes that you want. That's like when a whole bunch of, you know, hormone-filled people get at each other. There's arguments, there's crushes, there's a little bit of heartbreak. And I just really liked the backdrop of it all, though.
You know, and honestly, when I went into this book, I knew it was one of my highly anticipated reads of this year. And so, like, I loved every aspect of it. But the one thing I was like worried about was like, would I be able to relate to these characters because it's like tech? And I'm like, yes, you are able to, no matter, like, I think that I'm one of the least techy people ever. Like, I was having so many difficulties just trying to get this like live show to work today. And it was like a pretty easy fix. I just had to change browsers. But like, just in the sense of, yeah, I'm not a person who would normally be a techie person, but that does not mean that I wouldn't like this book. It's actually amazing. So if you're really nervous about the tech aspect, don't be.
I think every person can relate to something, relate to passion, because everyone for the most part is passionate about something, and there's something really inspiring about reading someone pursue something they're passionate about and trying to succeed at it to its highest level, because it inspires you to do the same in your life or whatever it is you're doing. Which is why, you know, I watch weird documentaries about people who are really good at like random stuff like karate, because it's just really cool to see people really deep dive into something that they're interested in, and you're like, wow, I need to do that more with what I'm interested in. So I don't know. I just really enjoyed the setting. It was refreshing. It was new. I just really loved the story. I thought it was just so dang cute. I don't know. Yeah. When you brought her to that date dinner and you like had all those books for her, and it was so I didn't know what to do, and I was like, oh, my heart is melting right now.
It was so cute, and I'm like, dang it, like, where's my Rishi? Like, seriously, I need, like, where? No, but so like I wonder, do we have any questions? Because we put out the questions late, so let me check. Okay, well, there's no questions just yet, but I have a question that we could talk about. Is that if you go to a camp like the one that they went to, which camp would it be, and like what would the focus be around? And it can't be anything with literature or books.
Okay, I mean, if I was just graduating high school, there'd be like 2 camps. One I don't think exists. Okay, wait. I'm gonna make one up because I think it would be awesome. So there is this travel abroad program I really for a variety of different reasons. But there was a summer program where you could go to England, and then it went to France and Normandy, where you would have local World War II scholars and you would visit like very important and significant World War II sites. And that would be so cool. And obviously that's expensive. So maybe I would do like an American version of that and travel around a lot of the Civil War, Revolutionary War sites on the East Coast with like my grandparents. Because I've been to all of those growing up because my grandparents live near them. But I haven't been back in a long time. So I think that'd be really, really fun. Or I'd do like a drama camp because I love theater. And I did a lot of theater in high school, so I think I would have really enjoyed that. What about you, Sasha?
I love that. Ooh, that's hard, honestly, because like the camps that I would like, I never really liked camp at all. Like, okay, like the instances where I went to camp when I was younger, like I left to like less than a week into a 2-week overnight camp because I was like not into that, like, you know, leeches in the lake and like, you know, even though I'm totally fine with that now.
I loved camp growing up. Just burn the leeches off. They delatch.
You know, so when I think about camp, like I want to think about something that I would be really interested in now to have done when I was younger. Even now, I would still go to like a camp that's focused around, probably in Scotland, and a camp that like you get to go to different. I'm making up this camp totally, but like a camp that you go to each castles, a different castle every day of the week, and it would be like, you know, a 2-week camp, and you would go travel around on like a huge bus with everybody, and you go learn about the history of the castle, and then you spend the night in like the local B&B or something fun like that. Because like I would be so down for a camp like that, and everybody knows that I would love that.
That's really fun. I want to go on that. To on my World War II scholar tour of Normandy, but like I'd also stop by for that one too.
Or like, you know, go even going to like Romania and staying in like one of their castles, learning about Vlad and all that crazy stuff, and like Dracula. I would love to go to like a place that's very rich in the history of monsters, and learn about the monsters that have dwelled there. I would love that as well. But I think it's time to share what book we're going to be reading for this coming month of July.
Yes. So the book we are reading.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, the book we're reading is The Disappearances by Emily Bain Murphy, and we're super pumped about this. Sasha, do you want to take it away? What's it about?
Yeah, so I'm taking it away with a summary where I know how to summarize most of the book, but it's kind of complex, and I don't want to confuse you guys. So I'm going to start it off by saying what it's about, then I'm going to read a little bit of the summary that they have because it makes more sense than my explanation. That's why reading usually does the summaries, because I suck at summarizing books. So this book is about this girl named Alea, and she there's always been mystery surrounding her and her mother. And once her mother dies, like unexpectedly, she and her brother are sent to live in this place called Sterling. It's a rural town far from their original home, and it's a place where her mother grew up. And so Sterling was a place with mysteries of its own, a place where the experiences that weave life together, scents of flowers, food, reflections from mirrors and lakes, even the ability to dream, vanish every 7 years. And I find that so cool about this book. But it's really about nobody knowing what has caused these disappearances, or what will slip away next. And so it's very interesting. It's about actually main character Leia going through the literary clues that her mother left her, and trying to figure out the root cause for all of it. So it's such a very unique concept for a book. I know the author, and she's so amazing, so lovely, and I have been wanting to read her book for so long, and I'm so happy that it's finally coming out so we can all read it together, and the book cover is glorious, so I'm really excited.
Look at it. It just looks like, look how mysterious this looks, everyone.
It's so gorgeous.
I know, it just looks so cool.
I just drank water and I couldn't speak. Oh, look, let's do a puppy.
Oh yeah, my dog's right here.
Hey, Fraser, say hi.
Millie, look. Look at Matilda. Look at Millie Moo. That's a really unflattering angle.
Oh my gosh, she looks so cute. She's so cute. And there's Colin over there. He left a butt skid mark in my room. TMI.
Oh, gross.
I know, I'm like, that's nasty. Oh, hi, Frank. Grace is like, I need attention right now. Hello. Okay, so guys, join us this next month for the disappearances, and we will always be up for the conversation over, well, Fraser, move. We always want to converse with you on the books that we previously read, so if you have yet to read One Double Meant Rishi, just leave your comments on our reviews and on this video, and we can all have a fun conversation about it. Thank you guys for joining us this month for the PERUSTOPIA Book Club. We're on Goodreads, so go definitely give that page a like. It's so active. Reagan, have you seen any members?
I know. There's like a whole community of people just doing like discussion boards, so if you just want like a place to talk about books,
yeah,
like, it's actually turning into like a really fun place. I just go on, I'm like, what are we talking about today, everyone? Like,
I know, it is so much fun. So if you like a community full of like, you know, book lovers and discussion boards and everything, that is run by you, mainly you guys who are part of the book club, because we got on there sometimes, but definitely go give it a like on Goodreads. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next month with the July pick. Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.